All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Uh, don't mind this story right here on the screen. I believe this is a recent story. I believe I talked about this. Of the 2 year old. No, I haven't. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I did in the members area. But this just happened a few hours ago. Maybe at this point a day ago. May have been a day ago. This story was published July 3rd. But we're only a few hours into July 3rd. So it may not be a full day yet.
Colleton County, a 2-year-old boy taken to the hospital after being mauled by several dogs over the weekend. According to the Colleton County Fire Rescue, it happened on Riva Ridge Lane near Ions Crossroads on Sunday. Authorities say the dogs went into that yard and attacked the boy. He was taken to the hospital. The sheriff's office is investigating.
Now, you heard that news report. You see on the screen, they wrote, "Boy seriously hurt after dog attack." And when they started this
Colleton
broadcast,
County, a 2-year-old boy taken to the hospital.
they referred to him as a boy. And in the headline, it started out just like this: "Boy injured after dog attack." Now, there was a story that surfaced a day or so ago of a dog that was shot. It was found shot in the face. Some of you might remember, I talked about it. The dog was found shot in the face. When they reported on that story, they started out saying a very disturbing story. Very disturbing. And I noticed they use words like disturbing when they talk about cases where a dog has been harmed, even if it's in self-defense. Where a dog has been beaten or shot, and someone found the dog after it had been shot or after it had been beaten. Pay attention to how often they describe those stories as disturbing. And you watch and compare how they talk about stories like this, where a child has been attacked, when it's, keep in mind, a 2-year-old. Now, to me, 2-year-olds are like babies, dude. Google what a 2-year-old looks like. At that age, you're still super short. Your balance is horrible. Okay, you can hardly stand upright, stay on your feet. Okay? At that point, you're extremely low to the floor, man, at 2 years old. Those are babies. But they will try to project them as to be as old as possible to minimize the seriousness of the attack itself. So rather than relay a story where a baby was attacked, tortured, a toddler, they feel safest using the word boy to make the 2-year-old sound as old as possible. Oh, he'll be okay. He can take it. After all, it was a boy. I noticed that. I noticed things like that. Now, I recently uploaded a video that a lot of people disagree with me on. And when I saw people disagree with me, I got excited. Because as I believe somebody pointed out, I think it was Vasectomy Fail. Vasectomy Fail jumped into the comment section one day on one of my videos. And he said that you shouldn't attack the people who disagree. because we don't want an echo chamber. We don't want an echo chamber. And that's true. An echo chamber can be counterproductive. When everybody agrees with everything that I say, that's counterproductive. I talk about this all the time. And, I try to take advantage of situations like this as an example for other YouTubers and how to deal with people who disagree. Don't get emotional about it. It's sad sometimes seeing these YouTubers have emotional breakdowns just because people disagree with something that they said. No, relax. It's all good. Let's deal with it. Let's deal with the disagreement. Yeah? Listen, there's nothing to be ashamed of. All of us, we are all nothing more than a mind. And all we try to do is express our mind. And sometimes we find that we disagree. And sometimes we find that we don't disagree, that we might even agree. We just had a challenge understanding where each other was coming from. Now, that may or may not be the case here. Let's deal with it. The video I'm talking about is the video that I used in the thumbnail. And it's a live stream uploaded 2 days ago, titled Mike Keller Exposes Dog Lovers. Now, you have to be careful whenever you deal with slavery. It's a very touchy subject. You have to be careful because people are usually on edge when the subject of slavery is on the table. And it'll become easy for people to shut the conversation off if they are offended by something, or if something is said that's offensive, that is out of pocket, or sometimes if they misinterpret something to be misunderstood. They're going to shut it off. They're not going to listen. Nope. And that's the case not just with slavery, with any serious subject, any subject that people feel is a touchy subject. It could be about family or whatever. But slavery is one of those things. It's like the Holocaust, the Jewish Holocaust. It can be very touchy. You got to walk on eggshells when you deal with it. Well, I made a video where I talk about this confusion, this misunderstanding that people have of love. And you got to remember, during slavery, there was a lot of attitudes. There was a culture that developed during slavery. And a culture is nothing more than a perspective. A culture, people's culture, that is also people's perspective. Now, their perspective will lead to what they actually physically do, but it starts with what they believe. A hug among humans is considered an expression of love. Would you agree with that? It's considered an affectionate, an expression of positive affection or emotions. Hugs are. Well, some other group on the other side of the planet, they might view a hug as an act of aggression. So they don't go around hugging people. And if somebody hugs them, they will physically defend themselves. Hey, what are you doing? And the fight will break out. Because with these people, hugging is not a part of their culture. So hugging essentially is a perspective, a cultural perspective. Now, how love is expressed, in my opinion, is a part of people's culture. Because if you go to different cultures, you'll find that different cultures have different definitions of love. This romantic form of love, it really don't exist in all cultures. Some cultures, marriage is primarily based on family ties, education level, and stuff like that. As we all know, in some cultures, at different points in time, your wife will be picked out for you. You don't even decide who your husband or wife is going to be in some cultures, especially all throughout history. So how love is expressed to a great extent and pretty much completely, it's perspective. It's all about perspective. And in this country, in the United States, there has been for a very long time an incorrect definition or view of how love is expressed. That has been the case for a very, very long time, which explains why there's been so many dysfunctional households. For whatever reason, people have had a hard time sort of defining how love is expressed. Look at the different songs that have been made all throughout history where people expressing their confusion about what love is. Oh, the love I feel is not being reciprocated. The love. People really don't understand love. If you pay attention to how people talk, the average person, they really don't completely understand it. It's an emotion that just confuses people. Well, sadly, some people view that lack of understanding of love as something to take advantage of, as something to use against people and manipulate them. So, during slavery, they had to develop a mindset that would allow slavery, to thrive, to stay in existence, generation after generation. In order for a system like that to be put in place, you have to get the general population into a certain mindset. That's mandatory. If not, then the slave system will fail. It's going to fail. You're going to try to implement it, and then the entire population is going to stop you. None of them are going to participate in it. You'll be like, what is this? Yeah, enslave those people. You're like, no. What are you talking about? No. The most important thing to do, people, is to change people's mentality and perspectives. That's the most important. That's why during slavery, they primarily and almost exclusively went through the Bible. They relied heavily on the Bible, on their preachers. They figured that was the best way, the most effective way to get people to believe, to truly believe that these people should be enslaved, and that enslaving them is not against God's will. It's actually God's will for these people to be enslaved. If you're going to try to implement such an inhumane culture, but you have to go through religion because that's the most powerful thing. Something like that, in order to get the masses to co-sign with that, you have to get them to believe that God wants it. You got to put the fear of God in them. You have to. That's the only thing that's going to get them to participate in it. right? Now, if you get them to believe that it's God's will, then everything else will fall into place. Then they'll start to feel like they're truly superior. Like, wow, God chose me to enslave these other people and to be the superior. A whole set of attitudes gets developed under a system like slavery. Okay? I'm sure most of you understand what I'm saying. You all are very bright individuals. You catch my drift. You have to get a certain mindset into the people in order for slavery to take place. Well, here's the problem. Once that slave system ends, that mentality that you developed to enable it remains. So now you have a serious problem. Okay? Once that slave system ends, what you're supposed to do is recondition the people's mind to get them out of the mindset that you put them in to enable slavery. That was never done here. It was never done anywhere in the world. And that is what really was the main cause of the conflicts, the confrontations, the civil uprisings and wars between subsequent generations who were not born into slavery. A lot of that animosity, a lot of those conflicts came from the fact that the same mentality that was instilled into the people during slavery was left into those people, was left in them after slavery ended. So many of the attitudes that was required to enable slavery remained after slavery ended. Now, what were some of the attitudes that were developed during slavery? Well, now this might sound crazy to some people, but it's the truth. It was in the slave owner's best interest to get the slaves to feel like part of the family. They had to use punishment, but they would reserve punishment only if the slave did something they didn't want. Try to steal something, try to run away, try to read. Yeah, then you suffer punishment. But if the slaves did not do anything wrong and they're actually working and they're actually doing good work, the slave owners were encouraged. They encouraged that. They wanted to keep slaves in a happy state of mind because that's the only time you're creative, is when you feel good. Listen, slavery was horrible. It was inhumane, as we all know. But despite how inhumane it was, if you were to see some of the interactions between the slaves and the slave owners, some of those interactions on its face were positive interactions where the slave genuinely had a moment of upliftment. They felt good. They were in a good mood. They were happy. Maybe the slave master gave them extra free time, gave them some extra, food, some treats or whatever. Maybe an extra few outfits or whatever. Slave owners did stuff like that. And to some extent, as inhumane as slavery was, they tried to keep them in a good, happy state of mind. So some slave owners would result to saying, "I love my slaves." And some slaves would say, "I love my master." Even though the slave might be fully aware in their mind that this is inhumane and I wish I was free. Okay, even if the slave doesn't even have to believe that they actually love them. The fact is, it was being said, I love my slaves. I love my slaves. So a culture of this twisted expression of love had to take place. Okay? Culture is perspective. So all across the country, there was this flawed view of how love is expressed. Flawed view of love, period. Because really, you can't even teach your kids proper love if you're not treating other people in the real world in a loving way. you know, everything else falls apart. That's why there's some people, and I'm telling y'all this right now, there are some people today who believe that some slave owners genuinely in their heart love their slaves. There are people alive today. It's not just that preacher. That preacher is not the only person today who believes that some slave owners in their heart at that time love their slaves. So when they say that the slave owners love their slaves, they truly mean that. And this is what they're talking about. They're talking about that at that time, the slave owners would act out this fake love, the same that they do with dogs. That's not saying that dog culture is the same as slavery. But they did the exact same thing then that they do with dogs. Have this twisted, false definition of love and have this false expression of love. They truly, it's several of them today. They believe slave owners, and that's not to say that they believe that they truly love their slave, love them only as a pet, just like they say they love their dog. Many of these dog lovers will say that they love their dog, but they'll also say that if they had to choose between their dog and a family member, that they choose their family member. Many of them will say that. Many of them will say that. Now, of course, many of them won't. Many of them say that, the dog comes before anybody else. But not all of them are willing to say that. Okay, let's just be honest. So a twisted, false expression of love has been a part of this culture for a long, long time. And that is the problem. That's the problem. If you got a culture of having this false definition of love, that means you've never known what love is. For the past few hundred years you've been here, you've had this fake expression of love. It's not really an expression of love at all. It's really an expression that you don't love. What you've been saying is love or an expression of love is actually the opposite. It's inhumanity, inhumane treatment. Right now, the biggest problem with this dog culture, the reason why dog lovers insist on its presence so much, the strongest force that's keeping them addicted is love, is what they believe to be love for the dogs. It's the strongest emotion. If they lost their love for dogs, they wouldn't be dog lovers at all. It's love over everything. But the bad part is it's not real love. It's not real love. Now, we all know many of these dog lovers believe it's real love, but it's not real love. That is a serious problem. That's the problem. These dog lovers, yes, they know that dogs are dogs, but many of these people, they truly in their heart and mind believe that the dog loves them. They interpret face licking, the dog showing them attention, they interpret all of this as love. So here it is, more false interpretations of how love is expressed, or understanding of how love is. Once again, this culture has been replete with saying that things is love that actually is not. So this culture needs to reform its definition and understanding of love and how love is expressed. That's, I feel, irrefutable. I can only speak for my culture, and I'm saying this for, as a matter of fact, this culture needs to reform its understanding of love and how love is expressed. It has been misunderstood for a long, long, long time. But just because I point out false definitions and false expressions of love that took place during slavery doesn't mean that when I point out the understandings and misinterpretations of the dog culture today, that's not me saying that dog culture or ownership is the same as slavery. Don't be silly now, people. I'm not saying nothing crazy like that. Do you think I would say something that foolish? Or mean something that foolish? Now, I'm silly enough to say something like that, but it'll be a slip of, well, like I could say something and misword it, situate my words wrong, and it comes out wrong. It'd be a misinterpretation, but I'm not going to sit here and actually say and mean something that crazy. Okay? Don't assume that I'm saying something that foolish and asinine. But I also don't want you to miss the similarities. We cannot have a phobia about history. Because if you do, then you'll never be able to learn from that history. Because you're going to go into examining that history with too many negative emotions. And you cannot deal with information properly when you're full of emotions. You just can't. And there are too many lessons in history for us to do that. And as turned off as people are about our history today, you should use how turned off you are by it to your advantage. Use that as motivation to not want to practice those attitudes and perspectives in today's world. So, if you were truly mindful of how despicable it was for slave owners to tell their slaves that they loved them, which is what it was, very inhumane, very satanic. That was very demonic for slave owners to say that they love their slave, to tell their slaves that they love them. If you kept how despicable and inhumane that was close in mind, as a dog lover, you would never say that your dog loves you, and you would never say that you love your dog. You'd never say that. And as a result, you would never treat them as if you love them. Right? Words are powerful like that. You keep saying something over and over, you'll eventually start doing whatever you're saying, whatever you're talking about. You start believing it and start doing it. So if you are, again, if you're distraught by the thought of history, I hope you use it as motivation, not to drag the attitudes and perspectives that comes from that shameful history into today's world. And I'm telling the dog lovers, I believe many of you have. Today, we have this false definition of love and how it is expressed. And this false understanding of the definition and how is it expressed, this misunderstanding has been here in this country for a very long time. I don't think it's going to help us to ignore exactly how long it's been here. Because the longer it's been festering in this country, the more important it is to get rid of it. You see, if it's some type of new thing and people will look at it, oh, it's no big deal, it's not hurting nobody. No. This is not a new thing, because the fact that it's been festering for so long means that people are that much deeper on the wrong path, in the wrong hole. That just seems like a problem to me. Why, for so long, have the understanding of love been so messed up? How? Now, boy, this is bad. This is real bad. You know, you could go thousands of years. A population of people could go thousands of years having never understood how love is expressed. All because at one point in time you implemented it as law and part of the culture to have this twisted view of love. You know, the fact that this misunderstanding of love originated during a point in time that you are ashamed of, that gives you anxiety, that you're embarrassed about, that should be more motivation for you to put an end to those attitudes and perspectives. Which is why I believe it's helpful to make correlations between this dog culture and not just slavery, any point in time that was, because a lot of negative and degenerate mentalities was developed in the past. Now, even though a lot of the physical activities changed since then, a lot of the mentalities are still here. So what are you going to do? You're going to impose those mentalities onto different things. Now, once you start to do that, it's still important to get rid of those perspectives and that mentality. It doesn't mean that what you're imposing those attitudes on today is exactly the same as your ancestors imposed on people back then. No. That's not what that means. That means you're carrying on perspectives and attitudes that originated during that time. Now, I don't know, maybe before America, maybe before, 1526, 1492, maybe people had a proper understanding of love and a proper understanding of how love is expressed. Maybe, but we don't know. One thing we do know is that it's been screwed up since we've been here. The whole time it's been here. I mean, and real love didn't even exist. Like I said, real love didn't even exist between families. like the slave owner and their kids, slave owner and their husband or wife. Like the love between them couldn't even have been true love. You know, if I love my kids, I don't want, and I'm not going to let them watch me treat someone like they're not human their whole life. What kind of example is that? You know? Yeah, I can't truly love you if I'm willing to do something that inhuman and lie to you. Knowing it's a lie. Keep in mind, a lot of these people knew that some of the stuff that they read in the Bible, a lot of them knew it was a lot of misinterpretations, a lot of twisting of what was said, and a lot of it was flat out forged, put in there during the Middle Ages. Who is that? The guy whose name is on there, King James, but not just him, but several others, put all kinds of crazy stuff into the Bible and left a lot of mistakes in it. But no, you know, I think it's important to examine all points in history, because we're carrying a lot of those attitudes and beliefs in our mind today. And a lot of it, we don't know where it come from. We just think it's because we're just degenerate. Oh, it's because Adam and Eve and we're just sinful. We're just naturally sinful. You know, a lot of our attitudes and beliefs come from a degenerate era. Okay? So that should be more motivation to get rid of that mentality and belief. The fact that it is rooted in a degenerate era, in a degenerate culture, inhumane, subhuman era and culture. But you won't gather motivation to get rid of it because of that if you have a phobia over history and culture, history in general. So yeah, I don't think we obligated to respect people's love for dogs. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And dog lovers expect their love for dogs to be respected. But your love for dogs gets people hurt. How you express your love for dogs get people hurt. That's another thing with the dog culture. You can't claim to love your family if you are endangering them. You can't claim that that's love at all, man. And, you know, bottom line is you are a public threat. Once you decide to acquire one of these things, you're a threat to your neighbors, to everybody that lives close to you, and even people who live far away from you. I've heard stories of dogs going to the other side of town attacking people. So you got something that's such a threat, it can travel several miles and attack someone. No, it's nothing about that is love. The dog showing you attention, it's all food obsession. You still confused about love. The dog licking your face, begging for food. That's not love either. Still confused about love. No, you don't love it. You keeping it. This is another thing with dogs and dog owners. Dog owners not the same as cat owners. When I talk about how you got to be inhumane to keep a dog trapped inside of a house, and that is a form or expression of dog cruelty, animal cruelty, just keeping them inside of a home. That mainly applies to dogs, not cats, because dogs are pack animals. Dogs are nomadic roaming creatures. Cats not so much. A cat will make a home somewhere, and that'll be where the cat wants to be. The dog is not the same. That's why they say you have to walk them every single day so that they don't attack people. It is because they are roaming, walking creatures. roaming, walking, roam, 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 walk, walk, run, 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 and they have to get that out their system. That's not the same as a cat. So you owning it is immoral. That's not an expression of love. A lot of dog lovers think that them simply owning a dog, being in possession of it, is an expression of love because, hey, I'm willing to feed it for its whole life. It doesn't have to pay for food. But people, understand, that's part of how slave owners talk to and try to convince their slaves. Because the fact is, slaves didn't have to pay rent. Slaves didn't have to worry about no mortgage. I'm telling y'all, there are people who talk like this today. People who believe slaves, many of the slaves were happy slaves. They believe that slaves should be thankful. They believe that we today should be thankful that our ancestors were enslaved. There are people who think that right now. And they base it on those facts. That the slaves didn't have to pay rent. They didn't have to pay for clothes, didn't have to pay for food. All they had to do was work and everything would be taken care of for their whole life. This is how they tried to help rationalize slavery. Like, hey, we're not doing nothing bad to these people. We're giving them all the necessities of life. They don't have to pay rent. They don't have to pay for food. All they have to do is grow the food. All they have to do is get out and work sunrise to sunset. Who wouldn't want a life like that? That was their rationale. Again, crafting this false definition of really everything. Now it's happiness, freedom, humanity, right? Haven't gotten it right yet. So, yeah, it should be motivation. It should be motivation. The fact that many of these attitudes came from such a twisted and degenerate history or point in history. These people today will tell you that dogs are very much like human beings and that they deserve the same love that we give to human. That's why they're making laws that will punish you the same way you'd be punished if you killed a human or if you attacked a human. That dog that was shot, that dog lived. And as you can see, the laws treat dogs as if they're more important than us. Always assume that the dog is innocent and that the dog did nothing. They don't offer us that type of courtesy. Not at all. So, why should we respect your love for dogs if it's not truly love? We can't. Why should we respect your love for dogs when how you express your love for dogs is harmful to dogs and other people? It's harmful to dogs. Just keeping them in the house is harmful to them. You can't really love dogs if you're willing to do that. You can't. You'd feel too guilty about ripping them apart from their natural habitat. You'd believe that the dog's happiness is more important than your personal happiness of keeping them trapped in your home. So you not expressing love. That ain't love. So have we ever gotten it right? At what point do we hit the mark? Has love ever been truly expressed in this country, in this culture? That is crazy. Yeah. Yeah. What about these other animals? What about these other animals? We don't think nothing of these other animals. It's all about the dogs. I want y'all to listen to this. I've had this on the screen for a while. This is scary stuff to me. And this needs to stop, but, there's nothing I can do to stop it. But this needs to stop. You see this title. This is a new story. Girl was attacked by a dog in Calgary. Now, listen to this.
Well, there's a number of reasons why dogs bite. They might be nervous, they might be anxious, they might be hurt or sick. There's no way of telling.
Let's play that again.
There's a number of reasons why dogs bite. They might be nervous, they might be anxious, they might be hurt or sick.
Nervous, anxious, hurt, or sick. Nervous, anxious, hurt, or sick. Nervous, anxious, hurt, or sick. I usually hear that. Those four, or maybe three, or maybe two. But they will use at least two of those as the reason why most dogs attack. Okay? Now, this article surfaced yesterday, 2:34 p.m. This is the article of the 2-year-old who was attacked. This surfaced yesterday as well. So both articles surfaced at the same time, on the same day. But yet, in this report of a dog attack,
after being mauled by several dogs over the weekend. According to the Colleton County Fire Rescue, it happened on Riva Ridge Lane near Ions Crossroads on Sunday. Authorities say the dogs went into that yard and attacked the boy. He was taken to the hospital. The sheriff's office is investigating.
The dogs went into the yard and attacked the boy. They were not family dogs. So not only did those dogs go onto their property, those dogs left their own property. They left their own territory. Okay? So, do you think they left their territory because of one of the reasons that she lists?
Why dogs bite? They might be nervous, they might be anxious.
Do you think that was nervousness? Do you think the dogs were full of anxiety? You can't even say that. That's the thing. The 2-year-old would have to have trespassed on the dog's territory to argue that the dog was dealing with feelings of anxiety or fear, right? The child would have to have trespassed on the dog's territory to use one of these excuses.
Nervous, they might be anxious, they might be hurt.
Hurt? No, they were not hurt. They were not hurt.
Or sick.
They were not sick. And if they were hurt or sick, you telling me they left their territory, invaded someone else's territory, and attacked them because they were sick, because they were hurt? I don't believe that, but even if that were true, that is a creature far too dangerous to have anywhere in the community. Now, shouldn't we all be concerned about a creature like that if that were true? A creature that will leave its house, leave its territory, go into some other person's home, into their home and attack them because they're hurt, because they're sick. Now, this lady is wrong about all four of the reasons she gives. And the true reason these things attack, and keep in mind, they're talking about attacks on kids. See, you got to always tie this in together. They included this video in this article. So this video is their response to this story. Okay? This video is in response to this story. This girl was attacked by 2 Rottweilers. Okay. And it doesn't say if it was a family dog or not. We all know it was unprovoked. It doesn't even say it's provoked. But I'm sure they would use this video in response to this story as well. But they surfaced on the same day. So this advice right here, it should apply to this story as well. It doesn't apply to either one of them. This is why I say this is going to have to stop. They are too far off the mark with this, with these talking points, nervousness, fear, anxiety. Dogs are not dealing with any of those emotions when they attack like this. These creatures simply get off on exercising dominance. That's what it actually is. It's bloodthirsty. Bloodthirsty. And the fact that that's the truth, that's why it's easy for people to be an anti-dog person. They don't want to be a part of silly lies like that. Obvious lies like that. You know, they could find themselves being scrutinized in real life, holding on to beliefs like that. So this is crazy. This almost made me feel like I went back in time. Really, in 2023, you still got people saying this? This is still what you're saying in response to these stories that we're hearing lately, where dogs are leaving their property, going onto other people's property and attacking them?
According to
The only thing y'all still saying is that, oh, it's a number reason dog attack, oh, nervousness. Wow. It's like they've given up. They're not even trying no more. They're just repeating what they've always repeated. They're not even putting in any effort. So, yeah, it's only a matter of time. And they got themselves to blame, man. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. In some states, it's illegal to eat your own dog. Yeah. Like I said, some states it's illegal to eat dogs, period. Right? Let me show y'all something. Let me see. Yeah, I gotta refresh my memory myself. Yes. Okay. Okay. Is it legal in the United States? California, Georgia, Hawaii, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, and Virginia are the only states that explicitly outlawed dog meat. It is, however, illegal in all states for slaughterhouses to handle dogs, and it's illegal for stores to sell dog meat. This does not prevent an individual from killing and eating a dog or selling meat to another person, so as long as it's through a store. I thought you couldn't sell it. You just said it's illegal for them to. Here, let me show y'all what I'm looking at here. That don't even make sense. Say right here. It is, however, illegal in all states for slaughterhouses to handle dogs, and it's illegal for stores to sell the meat. Then they go on to say that this doesn't prevent people from killing and eating a dog or selling it to another person, so long as it's, not through a store. Sorry, I misread that. So long as it's not through a store. The laws among states that have banned the consumption of dog meat vary. Some states allow citizens to kill and eat dogs so long as the killing is done humanely. In New York State, that is illegal to slaughter or butcher dogs or domestic cats or create. Wow. Look at how they treat the other animals. Why is it illegal to slaughter dogs, but not illegal to slaughter cows? Cows much larger than dogs. I know y'all not trying to say that dogs are somehow more of an expression of life than a cow. Why can you slaughter a pig, but not a dog? Why y'all? That is terrible. This is why I support the Yulin Dog Meat Festival. Because they're doing the same thing Slaughterhouse is doing. That's all they're doing. And it's legal in most states. So there's nothing to complain about. So I don't get this. Where are you supposed to get the dog meat? If it's legal for you to eat dog in the United States, but it's illegal to adopt a dog and kill it, then how are you supposed to eat dog meat? Remember, you can't just, is that how you have to eat it? You have to adopt it first. All these people who get arrested for dog cruelty, some of them, all they did was shoot their dog. So I don't understand that. If it's illegal to kill your own dog, how are they supposed to acquire dog meat to eat? So that's funny. You know, there should be a slaughterhouse, shouldn't it? If it's legal, that is terrible. You know what? Dog Meat Consumption Pride Month. How about that? Dog Meat Consumption Pride Month. We will not be ostracized by society that does the same thing that we do, only to dogs. That's in the future too. Now, I don't eat meat at all. Even if I did, I wouldn't eat dog meat. But I suspect people who eat dog meat, they're going to push back. They're going to push back against these laws eventually. Basically deify the dogs. What in the world? Yes. But anyway, let me get out of here. I just wanted to touch on that and remind people, listen, I encourage you to disagree with me. You disagree with me, good. Some of you know I look for people who disagree with me. You know, because it always helps to deal with the disagreement. Okay, and I got to elaborate, give you more of my take on it, And I can't help but to believe it. And I believe it happens in many different ways. And it happens with all groups, I think. A lot of attitudes and beliefs that people have today is real old. It's real old. It actually started several years ago. And if those attitudes and beliefs get people hurt, is harmful to people, you might want to examine exactly if it originated at some point in history. And if these beliefs and attitudes originated at a horrible point in time, you should use that as motivation to get rid of those beliefs and perspectives. Right? So good luck to everybody on that. This is a rare, lengthy live stream for this channel, but I will be back on my live stream channel. Okay, let me plug that channel right now. Okay, let me plug that channel right now. I use this channel primarily for short videos. It's the channel that I'm on now. Most of my live streams are on the channel that I posted in the chat room just now. Now it is July 4th. Fireworks will be tonight. The fireworks will be tonight. Some dogs get heart attacks. Y'all keep this in mind. They say that fireworks has given many dogs a heart attack. Some dogs have died on July 4th. But that is no reason to outlaw fireworks. Okay? What do y'all want to do? You think dogs are more important than us celebrating the 4th of July using fireworks? No, we're not going to get rid of a holiday. We're not going to sacrifice our tradition. See, yeah, they're trying to get us to sacrifice our tradition with this ban fireworks. They want us to sacrifice our tradition and culture same way they sacrifice their kids. No, thank you. Fireworks forever. So I will be back after the fireworks, and I will definitely report on any situation that, was started or sparked, pun intended, by the fireworks. And I hope to see you all on the next live stream as we continue with this crusade.